Life Audio.
You don't need more hustle. You just need a rhythm you can return to, especially on your hardest days.
At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than money. It's a way to support the people, causes, and community you love. Because helping you put your faith into action is at the heart of what we do. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
Hey there, parents. Are you tired of the babysitter search struggle? Look no further. Welcome to KingdomCareSitters.com, where Christian families connect with like-minded sitters who share their faith.
I was searching for a reliable sitter who understands our faith and family dynamics. With KingdomCareSitters.com, I found the perfect match.
And guess what? You can discover sitter profiles, post jobs, and even schedule and book short-term or long-term care, all on the user-friendly website, KingdomCareSitters.com.
Plus, KingdomCareSitters.com lets you pay securely online. Whether it's date night, work commitments, or just some me time, Kingdom Care's got you covered.
As a sitter, I love being part of this community. I set my own rates, connect with amazing families, and make a difference in their lives.
Are you ready to find your perfect match? Visit KingdomCareSitters.com today, because when faith meets childcare, it's a match made in heaven.
Hello and welcome to the Encourager Podcast, where we have encouraging conversations to help you joyfully harmonize your home and work life. I'm your host, Rebecca Scott. I'm a wife, mother, designer, coach, and author. I'm here to help encourage and empower you to confidently make decisions that work for you and your stage of life, whatever that might be. Hello, encouragers. On today's podcast, we're going to talk about an important subject that you guys almost always frequently ask me when we get to see each other, whether online or in person. And it is, how do you stick to your systems when life gets crazy or busy or chaotic? Well, we know that those are always things that are going to happen with life. I'm going to give you some practical advice today on how to stick to your system when life gets notoriously busy, because your systems should bring peace and not pressure. When people are like, oh, I just got to stick to my systems, I'm like, ooh, that feels like a lot of pressure. So I'm going to tell you the easy way to just hold them loosely, but do in fact hold them, because they will bring you peace and not more chaos, and especially not pressure. They're not going to be rigid. So we're going to walk through that today. I have a personal story when life felt really, really hectic and out of control. I was at a show in Shakopee, Minnesota for the purses, Rebecca Scott Designs. That's my main business. If you're new to us, I sew and design purses that are both stylish and organized. They're really awesome. I travel around mostly the Midwest and doing these shows. And it requires quite a bit of systems to get myself on the road, get my family prepped for what they will be doing here, and then just go into my business work system mode, if you will. Well, we ended up getting snowed in, which is very common in the spring season of that show. We've had everything from snowstorms to hail to tornado warnings. Like, the life of a vendor or an exhibitor is basically like a showered carny. Like, we're just like carnies, but we just shower a little more frequently. So you name it and we've been through it. And this one was an indoor show, but we got snowed in, like really bad, like close the interstate. You're not going anywhere. And this was on Sunday. And if you know anything about me or followed me for a while, my Mondays are super productive. And I love Mondays. I love them because they are productive. And I've paired them with things. I enter a Monday like I've got a cape on. I love them. So as I'm panicking, which I'd love to say I was handling it well, but I wasn't. I was like, no, we have to go home tonight. I have laundry tomorrow. My gal that comes to help me with the next phase of the bags is going to be there. I need to unpack the whole van. We're going to ship tomorrow. We're going to do the things that we do on Monday. I have got to be home. So I took a deep breath, mostly because my twin sister said I needed to calm down. And I went, okay. I've timed all these things, which you know I talk a lot about. I know how long it takes me to do the laundry, to tag, to ship, to meet with Brenda, to do the next process, to surge the kids. I knew how long each one of those things would take. And so what would it look like to stop panicking and just rearrange when those things were going to happen? Because my hands were tied. And thank the Lord, my hands were tied, or I would have pushed some things. But I couldn't. I had to just sit with it. So the systems that I had set up for Monday were still going to be there. I had timed everything. So I sat down on a piece of paper, because we drove back to my uncle's house because that's the furthest that we could get, because we couldn't get on the interstate, and thought, all right, when are you going to do laundry this week? When are you going to search the kids? When are you going to meet with Brenda? When are you going to ship? When are you going to tag? And because I had those systems in place, I really did relax. I watched a movie with Sarah Bear, my twin sister who was traveling with me. I didn't worry about Monday, and I knew those things would still be there. I could pick them up when I did get home, whether it was a half day Monday or 3/4 of a day or no Monday. I knew because of the systems I had in place and because I had timed things not to panic and to pick up where we could. I also rearranged the rest of the week doing the bare minimum of things so that I could make up for Mondays non-being able to be there. And so these systems really actually did provide me peace in a pivotal moment that could have had me spiraling. What if your systems could run in the background like a good playlist, whether it's calm or upbeat or fun, they were consistent, and it was totally you? What if your systems ran like that, even when life feels like chaos? You lean on them and you relax, you don't stress, and do them in spite of it. You're like, well, I have to do the system. No. What if it was like, it's relaxing to have this system in place? Systems aren't meant to add stress. They're built to carry you when life gets busy, not if. They are the peacemakers. They are the beacons. They are the lighthouses. They are the frameworks. They are the outlines. They are the blueprints. Think of the things that you lean on when you're like, oh, here's the plug and play. Here's the plan. Here's the lighthouse. I know how to do this. That's what systems are. They're not going to add stress. They're going to reduce the stress. Here's the caveat. Systems are only stressful when they're too rigid, when it has to be done on Monday, okay? Or it has to be done in this amount of time. Nope, that is when they're going to become stressful. You need to make them with margin so that they can be subject to change when life inevitably changes. And when you've practiced them enough, I do always recommend practicing something for 6 weeks. They really do start to feel like second nature, and you'll start to relax into them instead of them causing stress and rigidity. I just want you to remember this. When you build your systems, you have got to build your systems with margin. That means space for them to change a little bit, alter a little bit, because if you make them too rigid, you're going to fall off. You're like, I can't sustain this, especially in my coaching years, especially the ones that buck the system the most. They're like, I can't do it. I'm like, let's just make up a light framework, just a little bit gentle framework of how you would approach it, because the more rigid you get, the more stressful it will become to stay at that. So you've got to create a little bit of margin in there, because things will shift, kids will change, or I always joke about this, that some dad was the one that organized the tournament. Bless their hearts. But I always joke that when a tournament is like 18 games in one day with 18 different teams, I'm like, there was not a woman involved. There was not a woman who's like, hey, the mom who is coming to this has 3 other kids. Like, that's my ongoing joke. So I know you can't really build a tournament with too much margin, but I think it can be done. And I think women need to be involved in that process. Okay, without systems, every busy season means starting from scratch. Think about that. We all go through busy seasons. And if you don't have systems, you are starting from scratch in the middle of approaching a busy system. But if you have them and the busy season approaches, you are anchored. I think these Bible verses are super relatable to what we are talking about, how to stick to our systems in the busy seasons. For God is not a God of confusion, but of peace. 1 Corinthians 14:33, and let all things be done decently and in order. 1 Corinthians 14:40. But I do feel like I got to tell you a little bit of the context behind there. God's design is always for order that leads to peace, not perfection, but preparedness. Okay, the verse from 1 Corinthians 14:33, for God is not a God of confusion, but of peace, was Paul talking to the Corinthians, where he addresses order and structure in the worship gatherings. And these principles apply beautifully to the idea of creating systems and maintaining them, especially when life gets overwhelming. He's writing to correct the chaos that was happening during the church services in Corinth. People were speaking over one another. Weird, shocking, right? They were using spiritual gifts without consideration for others, and they were generally making the gatherings confusing and disorganized. So Paul emphasized to them that God's nature is one of peace and order, not chaos. We humans are the ones that always make it chaotic, right? So their worship should reflect this peace and this order. So he gives these suggestions. Order and structure aren't just helpful, they're godlike. When life gets busy, systems aren't just about efficiency. They reflect God's heart for peace and calm instead of overwhelm and confusion. When I create systems for my home and for my business, I'm not just getting organized. I'm leaning into the character of God who brings peace through order, through the systems. I have more peace when I can lean on them because they were created with me and God together. I always advise this as well when I am coaching, is that if God gave you these roles and these dreams and these characters in your life, do you not think that he will prepare you and has made you equipped to do all of those amazing roles? He uniquely chose you. Yes, of course, you can do this. And the other verse, 1 Corinthians 14:40, but everything should be done in fitting in an orderly way. Now stay with me. This is not to shame you. Like, not everything is going to be done always in a fitting and orderly way, but it is something that we can pursue. This is after Paul was encouraging orderly participation in worship. He concludes that everything, not just spiritual practices, should be done with intentionality and structure. How beautiful is that? That man in that time was like, okay, you know what? We just need a couple of systems. Let's just be a little bit more intentional. I love this. I love this. It's a powerful nudge towards sticking with your systems, even in chaotic season. It's not about perfection. Here's the shame part, guys. It's not about perfection or rigidity. Remember, we talked about that. You have got to have some margin when you are creating these systems so that you can lean on them for peace, for focus, for intention in your God-given responsibilities. That's where these systems come in. You're going to be able to have more peace and focus and intention because God gave you these roles. He gave you these responsibilities, and now you're going to be able to implement them because you've got some peaceful systems that work alongside all of your responsibilities. This verse reminds me that sticking to my systems, whether it's how I manage my email, how I pick up the kiddos, how I prep the dinners, it's not just about checking boxes. It's about doing things in a fitting and orderly way so I can better serve, love, and connect with my people. Hey, encouragers, hope you're enjoying this episode. We'll be right back after this short break.
At Thrivent, planning your finances is bigger than money. It's a way to support the people, causes, and community you love. Because helping you put your faith into action is at the heart of what we do. Thrivent, where money means more. Connect with us at Thrivent.com.
Hey there, parents. Are you tired of the babysitter search struggle? Look no further. Welcome to KingdomCareSitters.com, where Christian families connect with like-minded sitters who share their faith.
I was searching for a reliable sitter who understands our faith and family dynamics. With KingdomCareSitters.com, I found the perfect match.
And guess what? You can discover sitter profiles, post jobs, and even schedule and book short-term or long-term care, all on the user-friendly website, KingdomCareSitters.com.
Plus, KingdomCareSitters.com lets you pay securely online. Whether it's date night, work commitments, or just some me time, Kingdom Care's got you covered.
As a sitter, I love being part of this community. I set my own rates, connect with amazing families, and make a difference in their lives.
Are you ready to find your perfect match? Visit KingdomCareSitters.com today, because when faith meets childcare, it's a match made in heaven.
So here are a few reset tools for keeping your system simple, realistic, and sustainable when life does get busy. Okay, this is like going to be your check-in. Okay, I want you to choose one system. Remember, we talked about these 5 systems: me, food, family, work, or home. I want you to choose one system to focus on when life gets wild or crazy. Ask yourself, which will be the most affected because of this busy season? Which of those 5, me, food, family, work, or home, is going to be the most affected during this busy season that I see coming? Which one? Or if you're already in it and you're like, whoa, something just got busy, still reflect. Ask yourself, okay, which one of the systems is going to be the most affected? Then I want you to practice a few of these things before the mess happens. So if you can catch it before this busy season starts, how can you start practicing just the bare minimum of this system before the mess happens? Okay, so let's say, for example, it's going to be a busy season because Nick is in the middle of harvest. Which one of the systems do I think will probably get the most overrun? It's probably our home system because I'm basically single parenting. So what is something I could practice before that happens? It's having a meeting with my kiddos about what chore time is going to look like, what meal time is going to look like, what pickups and drop-offs is going to look like, having conversations with them about these are how the systems are going to adjust slightly while daddy's in the middle of harvest. What would that look like for you? How can you start practicing it before the mess happens? Then I want you to create bare minimum modes. Think like a skeleton version of your system during the crisis weeks, okay? And I have a couple of examples for you too, but for me, like my me system during a busy season, if I don't do anything other than take a bath on Tuesday nights, that's it. That's the skeleton version for me. For the food system, like the skeleton version would just be making the decisions by 9 a.m. That's not pre-planning. That's not setting out ingredients. That's not any of those. It's just like, okay, right now, the bare minimum, the skeletal version of my food system is just deciding what we'll have for supper before 9 a.m. Maybe for your work system, what does that look like for you? What would be the bare minimum of work that had to be done? Well, for me, it would be content. I still have to create content to sell the things, right? Or your family. Of your family system, if that's the one that you're going to choose, what is a bare minimum thing? It might mean like we're going to have one family meal a week and it's going to be Sunday or whatever, but make one decision for your family system. That's kind of the skeletal version. So that has still got something existing within it. Then I also want you to pre-decide what success will look like during this crazy period. And remember, it might not be 100%, it may be 80%, it may only be 30%, but what does success look like? Okay. Maybe it's just food on the table, but it was ordered out all week. Who cares? But the food was on the table. Maybe that's what you chose. But what will success look like when you're doing just the bare minimum for whatever system is the most broke? Now, I know I threw out a lot of questions right here. Take some time, pause it, reflect on it, write it down. If you are in a busy season right now, go ahead and replay, starting with the choose the one system, asking yourself which will be the most affected during this crazy season, and go from there, okay? Pick one system you want to still function even when the season is really hard, and write down the simplest version of it. This is that skeleton version, and post it somewhere visible, because this is going to remind you, like, when everything feels really overwhelming, you're like, no. Here's my skeleton version. I can visually see that I am at least meeting these few things. And bonus points if you want to text it to a friend or your spouse and say, hold me to this one rhythm this week, because they will help lovingly hold you accountable. So I've written down 5 examples of how I do this when systems could get really, really busy, and some suggestions for you when it is a busy season and you need to stick to your systems, okay? Let's talk about your me system. This is how do you get a full charge? Okay, you're in the middle of a busy season. This is your busy season system tip. Use a 5-minute morning anchor. Okay, even if your full routine falls apart and you don't want to do the 20 steps, anchor your day with one grounding thing. Maybe it's a worship song. Maybe it's a verse on a sticky note. Maybe it's just 5 deep breaths, or maybe it's just stretching with your coffee. Just use a 5-minute morning anchor for your busy season within your me system. It's low lift. It keeps your soul in check. You've got this one thing that you're leaning on, and it reminds you you're not the chaos. You're walking through it with God, but you're not necessarily the chaos, okay? In your me system, just do a 5-minute morning anchor. Here's an idea for your food system. A busy season system tip is put 3 meals on autopilot. Okay, just pick 2 to 3 meals you repeat every week. Super simple, right? Taco Tuesday, Pasta Thursday, Sheet Pan Wednesday. Like, what is it that's just going to be super simple to put on the table that you don't have to think about, but you know that these 2 to 3 dinners are just going to be served no matter what? And rotate them only if you want to. Maybe it was just for a week. Maybe it's for a whole 6 weeks. It's okay. You can rotate them. You're not boring. You're a genius for doing this, okay? And you might remember how often you had it. Your kids probably won't. They have busy lives as well. Your spouse may not even notice. And if they do notice, they'll be reminded how busy your season is. Okay? This works because it's fewer decisions. The grocery list is easier and not complex, and dinner still happens. Okay, here's an example for the home system. Remember, the home system is creating a sanctuary for your family and yourself. A busy season system tip is pick one non-negotiable zone. Okay, so for example, the kitchen sink will be empty every single night, no matter what. But that's it. Not every room, just one, just the sink. You can add more when capacity returns, when you've a little less crazy, but for now, you're just picking one non-negotiable zone. Kitchen sink, living room floor, bathroom, toilet, whatever it is. You're just picking one non-negotiable zone. It works because you preserve peace in one spot, which often trickles into the rest eventually, but that one spot is your anchor. Okay, an example for your family system, and remember your family system is living out the legacy that you also want to leave behind. The busy season system tip is use the evening 3 check-in. At dinner, or maybe it's before bed, ask your spouse and your children, what's one thing that went well today? What's one thing coming up? And what do you need help with? This is just the tiniest little connection points with them. You may only get to one of the questions before they got a lot to tell you, but it allows you to keep that connection with your family, even if it's not a full family meeting or an hour with your child, but it's quick and it's relational and it makes everyone feel seen. Ask them those 3 questions. What's one thing that went well today? What's one thing coming up? And what do you need help with? And even if their help is bigger than you can offer during your crazy season, what's the tiniest 1% part of that you can help with? Okay, and an example for your work system when things are getting really, really crazy. The busy season system tip is block 1 CEO hour a week. Even if everything goes wild, reserve that 1 hour to plan, prep, or catch up. And it might be just one of those, depending on how crazy busy it is and what you can get done in that hour. But there's no multitasking. This is just for the CEO hour. That's it. And just your highest priorities just for that hour. So if it's super crazy, this is the only thing you're going to approach in your work system is that CEO hour week. And it works because it protects the big picture vision. When your week gets eaten up by urgent tasks, this allows you to still do that zoom out and go, okay, during the CEO hour, this is what I will accomplish. And this is what needs to be done to keep moving forward. Okay, I know that you're going to find some of those helpful. Remember, those are examples from my own life. What would that look like for you guys? Life gets busy. Life gets crazy. How are you going to lean into the systems that you've already created, but you're going to do just the skeleton version of them? What would that look like for you? Pause the podcast and think about that. When the mess comes, and it always does, you don't have to figure it all out again. You already have a path cleared. You already have systems in place. Your systems become your rhythm, and your rhythm becomes your peace. Systems don't prevent messes. They give you a way through the mess. When you're really overwhelmed, when it feels really stressful and you know that it's coming, you will find peace in your systems because you've worked them already. You also now know the skeletal version of them. I love to do my laundry in the busy season because it just creates peace and calm, and it's a system I don't have to think about because I've done it so often. I know when it happens. I know where it happens. It does actually create peace for me. Systems are a gift. They're not a burden. You don't need more hustle. You just need a rhythm you can return to, especially on your hardest days. The key here is to make sure that your systems aren't rigid, but they do have margin built into them, whether you're operating them at the skeletal level, just the basics, or you've got them really refined and you're really rocking and rolling. They will create rhythm, not hustle or chaos. They will create the peace you are seeking. Okay, if you have heard this episode and it really resonated with, that's right, these systems will create peace, please share this with a friend who's feeling really overwhelmed right now or is in a crazy busy season. Forward it to her so that she can listen and pause it in the spots where she can answer for herself. Okay, how do I want food to operate right now? How do I want to take care of myself right now? And exchange ideas on how your systems are going. That's how we're going to keep building one another up and encouraging one another. Also, direct message me on Instagram if you've got a system that's just really sticky right now and you're like, I don't know how to get around this. Oh gosh, I would love to cheer you on. So make sure to connect with us on socials. Also, we do have a really great guide on the website. If you go to theencouragerpodcast.com, the pop-up there will have 2 simple hacks for each system. So if you haven't even created the systems that we're talking about, you're like, how do I even get started? I got you. Go to the website, grab the resource there, download it, fill it out. Then you've got your initial systems. It's going to be awesome when you can lean on this as your rhythm and not feel like it's all going to be chaos. Until next time, encouragers, we got this because he's got us. Thanks so much for tuning in. If the Encourager podcast has helped or encouraged you in any way, please subscribe to the show and leave a 5-star review. And then help us spread the message of encouragement and hope by sharing the podcast with others. Ready to bring more organization and joy into your life? The Encourager Academy helps you harmonize your home and work life through our online course and coaching programs. Our 5-system approach, me, food, family, work, and home, tackles your biggest obstacles, offering lifetime access to video lessons and guided worksheets. Learn at your own pace with practical tools and strategies. Enroll now at EncouragerAcademy.com and use code WeGotThis for $50 off.
Hi, I'm Zach.
And I'm Randy.
And we're from Salty Saints Podcast. We're a theology and apologetics podcast.
To find out more, subscribe at lifeaudio.com.